that investing in a renewable industry that creates thousands of jobs and addresses our climate change problems is better than investing in a gas-fired recovery. More people work in car manufacturing supply chains in Australia today than they do work in the gas industry. And
Are you
I think
kidding
that's
me?
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, government doesn't want to back the winners. They're picking losers.
One for Mum, one for Dad, and one for the country.
And there has never been a more exciting time to be an Australian.
Budgets are about choices, Fran, and you show what you value through the choices you make.
Dead, buried, cremated.
This is coal. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. The treasurer.
Australia's basically done for. We'll just end up being a third-rate economy. A banana republic.
How good is Australia?
Just follow the money.
G'day, and welcome to Follow the Money, the Australia Institute's podcast demystifying the big economic issues in Australia and putting them in plain English. I'm Ebony Bennett, Deputy Director at the Australia Institute, and you might remember that Australia used to have a thriving car manufacturing industry. But a few years ago now, the last of the car manufacturing plants in Australia shut up shop, and now we have nothing. However, now the world is rapidly switching to electric vehicles, and this is an opportunity for Australian manufacturing.
Australia is missing out on the best cars and the best technology and has become the dumping ground for third world technology, according to global car manufacturers.
General Motors has pledged to end production of internal combustion engine vehicles by 2035.
New figures show the Tesla Model 3 was the most popular sedan last year, beating established favourites like Toyota's Camry and Corolla.
The biggest challenge that we've had in Australia hasn't been getting more people to want to buy electric vehicles, it's been getting a supply of electric vehicles made available.
I do believe that we can create a manufacturing industry which is a very significant portion of our GDP.
Australia, or more specifically the government of Australia, is in favour of electric vehicles now.
It's a natural transformation, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
To discuss this, I've got Dr. Mark Dean, who is the Laurie Carmichael Distinguished Research Fellow at the Carmichael Centre, which is part of the Australia Institute's Centre for Future Work. G'day, Mark. Thanks for joining us.
G'day, Ebony. Thanks for having me today.
Mark, it's such an interesting paper that you've released today, and it just really comes on the heels of reports of how much electric vehicles are going up in terms of sales in Australia. And it really seems here like there is a big opportunity for the country. Your report is titled Rebuilding Vehicle Manufacturing in Australia, Industrial Opportunities in an Electrified Future. Can you just lay out for me and for our listeners, what is the real opportunity here?
Yeah, sure, Ebony. Well, Australia possesses a lot of the critical elements for an electric vehicle industry to revive our manufacturing sector broadly around electric vehicles. We have rich mineral reserves, we've got an advanced industrial base, we have skilled workforces, and we have consumer interest. And the only thing we are lacking is the political will to understand that these are all here for us to use, to take this opportunity to transform our economy. And we need a government with the political will to do it.
So you've outlined there, I guess, a few of the advantages that Australia has. Let's just kind of dig into those a little bit. But first, can you tell me what happened to Australia's car industry? Because we used to build cars here, didn't we?
We sure did. We built cars, more or less for the better part of a century even. Starting in the 1930s, Australia started building imported kits from overseas. And after World War II, we had our own fully fledged vehicle manufacturing industry. And that involved a number of international car companies investing in the production of vehicles here for the local market. Eventually, we exported them as well. And then, of course, we all remember that in 2015, Joe Hockey dared the car manufacturers, the remaining car manufacturers in Australia, to leave.
Join with the Acting Prime Minister and the government in calling on Holden to come clean with the Australian people about their intentions here, right? We want them to be honest about it. We want them to be fair dinkum. Because if I was running a business and I was committed to that business in Australia, I wouldn't be saying that I haven't made any decision about its future. Either you're here or you're not.
And they did. They called his bluff, and we stopped making cars shortly after that. The last Holden rolled off of the production line in Elizabeth in 2017.
With tears, though, when the last Holden rolls off the assembly line in Adelaide. The end of car making in Australia.
And we haven't made cars since. But one of the things that I found in this report when I crunched the numbers is that we still have more than 30,000 people working in the vehicle parts manufacturing industry throughout Australia. And there's little things like that I found in the report that just suggest straight away that it's not gone. You know, the death of the car industry was premature, and we're not starting from scratch when we think about what we can do to rebuild it.
And so I want to come back to those advantages that you were talking about before, why Australia in particular, not only because we used to have a car manufacturing sector that still has, you know, some of the skilled workforce in place there, but other things like you were talking about access to resources like the lithium. Just walk me through why Australia is really, I guess, in a unique position compared to many other countries to get an electric vehicle manufacturing sector off the ground?
Well, Australia is one of the biggest exporters of lithium in the world. And we also have the advantage of being a very secure economy and society in terms of, the conditions that we have to export that lithium. We also have cobalt and nickel mines throughout the country, and they are the three critical minerals that go into producing electric vehicle batteries. And electric vehicle batteries are the most expensive and complex part of an electric vehicle. Relatively speaking, the rest of the car is quite simple to put together.
Electric vehicles have fewer moving parts, I read, than petrol cars.
That's right. Than an internal combustion engine, and that sort of suggests to you that, an ICE engine has a lot of moving parts, pistons and all kinds of things that go into it. And so there's a lot of technical work that goes into that. And we can get to, the sort of the skills piece a little bit later where that becomes relevant. But
I was going to ask about the lithium because we've got all of it. What do we do with it at the moment?
We ship it overseas, and other countries turn it into batteries. So at the moment, we're not doing any of the secondary downstream processing here, which is where all of the added value comes from. And we're missing out on a huge opportunity. We're not only buying electric cars back from countries that have taken our exports at a premium to, is what we're paying for those cars. We just don't have an industry set up to take advantage of the fact that we could do it right next door to where we mine it.
Yeah, so we're not refining it and we're not really building the batteries here.
That's correct.
Either.
That's correct. And
that's where all the money is, I'm assuming.
Yeah, that's right.
All the profit.
Yeah, so in 2017 even, the Future Batteries Industry Cooperative Research Centre, they calculated that the exports of lithium in that year, which was worth $2.1 billion just in its raw form, exported overseas, that would have fetched more than $22 billion if we had have processed it onshore and created our own processing capabilities in Australia. So you can already see that it's 20 times more what we're getting for the lithium we send overseas.
Yeah, and you were talking there about some of the workforce opportunities. So it sounds like there's still tens of thousands of workers who are related to the car industry, even though we don't manufacture cars here anymore. What kinds of things are they doing and what could they be doing?
Well, a lot of those workers have spun off into related industries. So some businesses got ahead of the curve and started diversifying into other the manufacture of other components for other industries. A lot of them still actually export those car parts to other countries where they do make cars. So, Australia has had a reputation for really high quality stuff in the past. It's just that it went into our cars instead of, always going to overseas countries. So, there's huge opportunity there to take those skills and capabilities and direct them towards electric vehicle manufacturing. And there's also opportunities to reskill a lot of those workers and more workers, potentially thousands more workers to do the battery manufacturing, the processing of all of the other kinds of parts that go into building cars here. It's really, all of it is possible to do in Australia. Really, as I said, the federal government's lack of vision is holding us back. And we need to change that because we can do it. We have the capabilities.
Yeah, we have the capabilities and people want them.
People want them.
Australia's EV share of total car sales has soared this year from 0.75% to 1.4%. The global average is 5.2%.
Brits are in love with their brand new electric cars.
So smooth and comfortable, it's fantastic.
Demand for electric and hybrid vehicles tripling in the past 12 months.
Demand for electric vehicles is on the rise all around the world.
Absolutely, and it's no different in Australia. I mean, just in 2020, 2021, in that 1 year period, the sale of electric cars in Australia tripled. So, that was starting from a fairly low baseline, but it suggests that people want them. And because the state EV policies did all the heavy lifting there, imagine what a federal industry policy could do. If it was a nationally reaching policy to help incentivize consumers to purchase electric vehicles, we could have far more on our roads, and we could really quickly contribute to transport's impact on the environment and climate change.
I want to go a little bit bigger picture here and talk about the role of manufacturing in the Australian economy. So the pandemic has really, I think, highlighted to a lot of people how the global supply chain is quite vulnerable to shocks. But in the past, Dr. Jim Stanford, also from the Centre for Future Work, has talked about the fact that manufacturing is a bit of an engine room for the rest of the economy in terms of innovation, training, a highly skilled workforce. Why is manufacturing so important?
Yeah, well, I can't agree more with what Jim's said it before and written about at the Centre for Future Work. One way I like to think of it is that, if we just look at the built environment around us, everything we see that isn't a tree or grass or anything like that is a manufactured product. Everything has to be transformed to turn it into something more. And so manufacturing touches all parts of the economy and it influences all sectors. And so that's why it attracts some of the highest skilled jobs, the highest incomes, why it is the largest contributor to innovation and research and development. And it's why services industries exist as well. So I grew up in Adelaide, and I was actually writing my PhD about the closure of Holden and the policy responses that created that condition, those circumstances. And as Holden was closing and when it closed, there were 4 lease signs everywhere on some of the busy streets in the Adelaide CBD and the financial district in particular. And that's a direct result of the disinvestment that comes from manufacturing packing up and leaving. It's hard to draw that connection when you don't see where the cars are made and you only see, signs on buildings about financial services and things like that. But really, that's what we're talking about, is that manufacturing provides the demand for every other sector of the economy. And fundamentally, it's been the engine of economies throughout the last 250 years of the system of production that we live in.
The first would be about retooling so that we have high-tech, niche manufacturing, highly flexible, that we can put onto the task of creating high-value products that are needed for the Australian economy, for Australian business.
I'll have more to say about our manufacturing sector.
You've talked about the fact that really the missing ingredient here is government support. I think that many Australians were left wondering, over the summer in particular, why we couldn't find a rat test anywhere, despite the fact that several Australian companies seem to have invented rapid antigen tests, for example. So talk to me about what a proper industry policy would look like for manufacturing, and I'm sure it wouldn't just be for electric vehicles, but what does it look like in your paper?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's way more than just electric vehicles. What I talk about in my paper is electric vehicles and an industry around that being the centerpiece of a renewable transformation of the economy and all types of manufacturing and beyond. What the government in my recommendations in the report needs to do is initially establish an industry commission that looks root and branch at what we've got and what we need to prepare to make this reality. But that needs to involve industry, unions and government and the community. It needs to involve all parts of the economy so that we know that everyone is going to benefit from it. Beyond that, we need to provide a whole range of incentives at state and federal level for manufacturers to invest here. We need to give them a reason to invest here. And as I've mentioned previously, we have the skills, we have the advanced industrial base, we have consumers that want electric vehicles. It's really a no-brainer. People are going to want to invest. Big global car companies are going to want to invest. We can offer a huge amount of incentives to companies, and we can offer even more incentives to consumers. So we can tick all of those boxes to say that industry, here, come and invest. We're going to help you set up through tax incentives, through subsidies, through ensuring that you have supply chains working to deliver your products to markets. And we can say, consumers, we're going to give you, decent subsidies and help you to make electric vehicles part of your everyday life. Beyond that, what I really see as being a vision for Australia is considering our competitive advantage in the global economy as what I call in the paper applied renewable energy solutions. So we want to not just market our products, whether they be electric vehicles or electric trucks. We want to say that this is how we've done it. We have used renewable energy sources to power our industries. We have radically transformed the way we live, because we're not just saying that we just want electric cars everywhere. We're saying that we want people to consider that there is an environmental impact that comes from the way we live, and we want to power everything we do, all of our cars, all of our public transport, with renewable sources. And we want to show the rest of the world that this is how we connected our renewable energy grid to our industries, and this is how you do it. And I think that's a huge vision and a major mission, but I think that it's something that Australia is poised to do better than anyone in the world. If you consider countries like Germany, other European nations, the United States, they look at Australia's abundance of resources from the sun, from the earth, with huge envy, and we don't take advantage of it.
I often laugh a bit about Australia, I must admit.
And they know that we don't take advantage of it, and that's why they're not willing to come here and invest in our economy.
I think that's such a good point, because so much of the demand for electric vehicles is people who want to do the right thing. They care about the planet and they want to stop emissions from transport. I'm sure there's more than a few who just like the look of a brand new Tesla.
Sure.
I myself,
Yep.
I've got my eye on an electric Mini if they start to hit the secondhand market in 5 years' time when I have to replace my car. But you're so right there about the advantage that we could have that's just it's just going begging, isn't it? And other countries just must look at us wondering what the hell we're doing.
Yeah. I think they must be scratching their heads saying, why are you wasting this opportunity? I think it really does come back to a lack of political imagination, a lack of political will, and the need for this to become a major issue for the entire country. I've been doing a lot of media about this today, and I've talked to journalists in regions as far as Port Hedland and in Queensland in the far north as well. And the moment that I say that this could bring all of these regions together in one way or another, they all go, yeah, absolutely. We think that that's a great idea. And when we talk to people in our communities, they agree as well. People want us to have a manufacturing industry, and they want electric vehicles to be the way that we rebuild it and sort of, set off into the 21st century and catch up with the rest of the world.
Yeah, I guess people can see the logic of it. I mean, we've got everything here just kind of waiting for someone to pick it up and do something with it.
That's right.
First car has reached the end of the production line. The job is done, and an Australian car is born.
That was 1948, the first all-Australian-made car rolling off the line at Fisherman's Bend near Melbourne. If that was the birth of an Aussie icon, today was its death.
Just specifically when it comes to the previous car manufacturing industry that Australia had, you've talked about some of the workforce are still working there on car parts and other aligned industries, but there's got to be those old plants that are still there. How much could those be repurposed for electric vehicle manufacturing?
Yeah, there's definitely a huge opportunity for them to be repurposed for electric vehicle manufacturing. I think that the fact that there is still so much capital infrastructure, there's so much machinery still there in mothballs, means that with the right amount of what's called retooling in the manufacturing industry, as well as more government investment in helping manufacturers bring all of their technology up to date and invest in new technologies that are needed for electric vehicles, we can absolutely do that. A lot of these sites remain largely untouched. The doors are locked and they just left. Particularly Holden in Elizabeth, and I am also assuming that Geelong as well, because it closed not long before Holden. And other sites like Tonsley in Adelaide's southern suburbs is now an advanced manufacturing facility that is co-located with the university campus where I used to work, actually, as well as a TAFE institute. So there are also other ways of repurposing these facilities to continue doing advanced manufacturing, like really automated stuff, as well as teaching the skills that are needed for those industries. So as well as that, I think that, some of these massive manufacturing facilities are huge buildings. And with the advances in technology today, we're not looking at the same geographical footprint as we used to. And so it's very easy to imagine that cars can be produced in one place and a lot of other components can be produced in another place. And we have, logistics and supply chains connecting those pieces where they're assembled in the final facility. And that means that you're actually spreading where you're doing that manufacturing work throughout a number of regions. And that way, a lot of other regions benefit as well.
So if you can just wrap it up here for us. So we've got big global demand. Australia's got all the pieces kind of there. We've even got the remnants of our previous car industry that are just kind of, they're working on other things that could easily be picked up by this. What does the future look like if we do this right?
Well, the future, I think, gives us a range of options. We could just build batteries and just say that that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn lithium into batteries. We're going to, and cobalt and nickel, and we're going to build processing capabilities here. That's one step. We can go that far and stop there and just say that that's all we're going to do. Or we can use government levers and the right policy settings to attract global car makers here and do it from beginning to end. We can do the final assembly of vehicles in Australia because we've got everything there ready to go. We've got skilled workforces. And the higher we go, the more public investment is needed. But I think that's, and I'm sure you agree that investing in a renewable industry that creates thousands of jobs and addresses our climate change problems is better than investing in a gas-fired recovery. More people work in car manufacturing supply chains in Australia today than they do work in the gas industry. And
are you
I think
kidding me?
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, Richie Murdzian tweeted that out today, and I thought, yeah, he's absolutely right. That's such a great point, is that more people work in parts manufacturing in Australia today than they do in the gas industry. And that just tells you, I think, that government doesn't want to back the winners. They're picking losers. And that's very politically motivated. And we need to change that because Australia is only going to lose if we keep doing that and fail to recognise our huge opportunities.
Well, congratulations on the report. It's a great read. I can't believe that we could rebuild Australia's manufacturing sector and save the planet at the same time. It feels like, particularly on climate change, there's so rarely good news. But it seems like with this, like it really is all opportunity.
It is. It's all opportunity, and the opportunity isn't going to just wait for us forever. We've got to do it now.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mark.
Thank you, Ebony. It's been a pleasure.
This episode was recorded on Tuesday, the 8th of February 2022, and things may have changed since recording. You can visit australiainstitute.org.au for all our latest research and content, and we're on Twitter at the Oz Institute with an AUS. Mark's excellent report is available at carmichaelcentre.org.au, and my Twitter handle is ebony_Bennett with a _N_T. Mark Dean is at Mark B. Dean, that's DEAN 84, and this episode was produced by Jennifer Macy. You can find her at Jennifer Macy. Our theme music is by Jonathan McFeet from Pulse and Thrum, with additional music from Blue Dot Sessions. Don't forget to leave us a review if you enjoy the podcast. It helps other people to find us. Stay safe out there. We're looking forward to this election year with you listeners, and thanks for listening.